There we are. And I believe we're live.
Okay.
Good evening. Happy Tuesday to everybody. This is You Got This. And we're going to be talking about breaking the mindset barrier. Specifically, the mindset barrier about this. Now, this is a series. This is the second in the series about this. This could mean your North Star, or it could also mean whatever's holding you back. We've talked
Mhm.
about that in our last episode. Check that out. In this episode, we're going to be talking about fixed mindset that traps and prevents people from pursuing their this.
Mm.
With that is going to be a little bit about breaking the limiting beliefs and what really is unscripted authority. I'm Stephen McConnell with Growth Mindset Initiative. I am founder and CEO of Growth Mindset Initiative and a mindset leadership coach. This is Laconia.
I, I am Laconia Reed. Hello, beautiful people. I am the founder of Choices International, a group mental health behavioral practice, and also So Say Me, where we focus on mindset, movement, and recovery.
So, Laconia, when I say limiting beliefs, what does that mean? What does that mean to you?
Actually, it's interesting. It almost sounds like what it means to me. What came to mind is the name itself, limiting beliefs. Um, where we as individuals, or I'll speak and use I statements, where I have set the bar or the cap for myself based on what I believe I can do, what I am persuaded about my limitations, my lack of knowledge or capacity or competency in an area. So it's really limiting belief to me is the point in which I tell me no.
Mm, I love that. The point when you tell you no. And I want to highlight that we don't always necessarily know when we're telling ourselves no.
Mm, yeah.
And that's where beliefs are. For me, a lot of times when I'm talking to clients, I try to get them to understand the point of view of a belief is what
Hmm.
you habitually do, you routinely do that reinforces self limitation.
Mm.
And
Can you say that again? That's good.
yeah, it's something that you continuously do, and it's more than likely a daily thing that you do that
Yeah.
prevents you from going further. It's a self limitation. And
Mm.
um, we could see this in many different areas. Overthinking is one of them. Not this is one of the questions we left with last week was, do I respect myself more or less because I say yes to this thing? And that is a unlimited belief or a limiting belief breaker
Hmm.
if you practice that skill. So
Wow.
that to me is like as far as I can go in depth. I don't go into the depth of therapy, but as far as I can go in depth is the depth of right before individual identity,
Uh-huh.
and that's your emotional layer where your character is, and everything that you do emotionally
Hmm.
reinforces your beliefs. And I find that
Yes.
very so interesting because a lot of times as an entrepreneur, I find myself reinforcing some of the wrong beliefs that are end up being the limiting beliefs, suppressing myself.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
to me,
That,
when we speak about limiting beliefs, I caught myself doing it this today. It is just a framework, a thinking framework where you have to have a level of optimism, a level of courage, and honesty. I think.
Honesty.
I think because that's just really you have to be aware of it too. Self-awareness. I would add that one to it.
So I agree with you. When I think about the limiting beliefs, the honesty, the courage, and I am a therapist, and so that ear perks up. And the question that came up for me is everything that what you share is absolutely the next step. The question that came up with for me is what would be the first step? And that is what story are we telling ourselves? And normally it's based on a past experience. So those beliefs, I call it your full persuasion about you.
Mm,
Get those full persuasions about ourselves based on a past scenario, situation. And depending on what we tell ourselves about that situation, is going to shape our full persuasion, i.e., belief. So, for an example, I had limiting beliefs with regard to college. I am a high school dropout. While in high school, I did not make the honor roll. I think I made the honor roll once in my sophomore year, one semester. That was it. And I got rewarded for it. But all the rest of the time, prior and even post, I did not make the honor roll in my elementary school, in middle school, barely made it, was always needing an extra class, needing summer school, needing night school, needing a tutor. So in my mind, those experiences, and I had always heard, I just don't apply myself. And so those experiences, coupled with the outside, I'm now calling it noise or feedback, that might be something that
mm,
consider the feedback. I developed a narrative at an unconscious level that I wasn't aware of. So self-awareness, Stephen, is key. It's the next step, or I should say, yes, the next step, the first step is exploring what is the story that I'm telling myself. And I did not know, I wasn't self aware that I had told myself that I wasn't smart enough, that school isn't for everyone, that you have to be this special kind of smart in order to do well in school. So that playing in the background, my limiting belief that I can only do bare minimum. Mediocrity was just my path. Honor roll was a far stretch. I can't excel academically because that's what I was telling myself. That limiting belief about what was possible for me academically, that's how I performed.
mm,
And so I went back and got to the root of who told me that? And I realized it was feedback, and some was warranted. My behavior, teachers, family, my behavior gave the people who gave me feedback legitimate cause to have the comments that they had. I was skipping school, I wasn't doing homework, I did not apply myself. I failed exams, all of the things. So the feedback came. But once I changed that, and here's another, the next step, so say me, is I went from awareness, it's behind me, awareness, that's that unconscious conversation that you're having with yourself to bring it forward, to make you aware, to
absolutely.
really build on what you said, Stephen, about that self awareness. Once I realized that, oh, shoot, I have set this limiting belief about academics for me, the next step is acceptance. And acceptance, so say me, is when you take personal responsibility for what you're going to believe about you. I get how you got there. And that's all. That has its story, it has its place, but it is your responsibility to decide if you're going to stay there. And so I changed my mantra that school isn't for everyone, because that's what we do. We
Hmm.
have these stories and we have these affirmations that's working and operating at the unconscious, the subconscious level. School isn't for everyone. I changed it at the acceptance. I'm now aware that this is what I'm thinking, my limited belief. It is my responsibility to change it if I want different outcomes. I have authority and agency and autonomy in my own life to change it for me.
Mm.
And I changed it. My belief became if they're teaching it, I can learn it. And what I did is release all of my past experiences where I failed, I dropped out, I hooked school, I cheated. I mean, I was a trash. One of my college professors called me a beat bopper student. He
Mm.
said, "You just beat bop in, you beat bop out, you don't take none of this serious." I changed my mindset and said, "You know what? If somebody is teaching it, it means that knowledge and that information is obtainable. I can learn it.
Mm.
I can." And then the next pivotal piece, addressing limited belief, Stephen, is I made a decision. I can learn it, gave me the desire to. And then the next phase was the decision to. And so once I made the decision to, I began to discipline myself. It meant I needed tutors. It meant it took me longer. I had to study longer, whatever the process was, because I decided that I'm going to get this information. I'm going to complete this task. I'm going to do whatever. It gave me the fortitude and the tenacity to keep going until I got the outcome that I wanted. And so to change your limiting beliefs, for me, you must identify it. That's awareness, and then take responsibility for what it's going to be, and then make a decision about it. And then you can begin to be disciplined in the subsequent behaviors following the decision.
I love that. I love that. And where my mind went was the different layers. On the
Mm-hmm.
external is the strategy. And I'd gone through something very similar in my life. Going into yeah, I was going into middle school. I was in an
Mm-hmm.
ESOL class in kindergarten, in
Okay.
grade school, because I was
Okay.
dyslexic, and a lot of the teachers thought I was just refusing to do work. But their instructions and the reading wasn't making sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point in time, whether I liked it or not, my parents gave me a choice graduating into middle school. And they said, stay in ESOL or be a normal kid.
Oh,
And they said, it's up to you. You do whatever. And I made the choice. I made the choice to be in regular school. Um, but the framing around that question, that everything was being a normal kid was hard,
yeah.
was difficult. The classes are going to be hard and difficult. So I treated, in my mind, school very difficultly for the rest of being in school, in a high school, middle school, and high school.
Yes.
And so I wasn't necessarily a stellar student um, because of that framework.
Yeah.
And so where I was going originally was I love the layers because there's strategy, story, state.
Yes.
State
Well
is
said. Love
internal.
it.
Internal is right there. That's the identity, that's the awareness, that's the emotions, it's the energy. Then there's
Mm-hmm.
the um, what did I say? Story. What we're telling
Story,
ourselves
the narrative.
of the awareness, all of that,
Yes.
that bridges into the strategy and what it looks like to other people. And um,
Mm.
I think that that's so important because we go through those layers. And what we're really describing is those layers of a fixed mindset.
Yes.
Fixed mindset of this is what I've been given to think, and I think it, which is exactly a limiting belief.
Yes.
And I learned I learned
Hmm.
that school was very difficult and hard, and I wanted to. I didn't go to college
Right.
until I don't know, I was until 2010, honestly. You
Right.
know, and then I worked really hard and put myself through college. Um,
Yeah.
but at that point in time, the framework was very fixed. I had to sit there and apply all of my attention to it all the time. I worked
Hmm.
nights, worked on it. It was just one of those things where now I look at learning as, well, no, this is a strength that I had. I just been doing it wrong all along and listening to everybody else. Um,
Yes.
and I love the fact that you were talking about in school, you learned to transition yourself into what is considered a growth mindset. From
Yes.
fixed to a growth mindset, you applied yourself and you went forward with it. And
Yes.
we were talking right before the show here. I'm gonna,
Hmm.
you were saying I'm applying myself. I was in different chairs today, and I was learning this thing. It's frustrating, but I was learning this thing, and
So,
I think that shows like a what I mentioned in the beginning, an unscripted authority
right.
in learning. You've
I
learned a
love that.
framework of how
Mhm.
to lead by example, and that's what
Mhm.
unscripted authority is you learned how to lead by example, and through the context of learning, you've empowered yourself
Mhm.
and you're leading and you're showing authenticity. And I think that that's really what tonight is about, really, is
Yeah.
where are we with our this?
And for me, I absolutely, so you're right. Before we went live, oh, this technology is what I was sharing. That I've literally moved to three different spots with this computer, plugging it up and trying to learn or learning something new. And I need to get this program up and running and operational. I have a deadline, and so I made the decision I am going to do it. And that's something I just want to interject, to stay open for your audience in this entrepreneurship space. When you make the decision, you for me at least, you have to stay open to the process, right? I made the decision that I am absolutely going in this direction, right? This is what I'm going to do. I have to get this site up using technology. It is absolutely outside of my wheelhouse of what I know to do, of what I know how to do. But I made the decision that this will be up, this will be operational, this will be done by this deadline. And so I didn't know how it would come to be. So I'm saying stay open to that. I had no idea that it would take me all day, three different locations. I get up and move around and stretch three different iterations of what I'm developing, this program. I'm still not clear about all of it, but I'm getting a visual. I'm getting excited. I can see it. And I want to encourage your viewers that when they're pursuing their this, whatever it is, you stay open, identify the limiting beliefs that will stop you from even starting. And so with technology, I was sharing with Stephen, it's not my thing. And then I heard myself say, you don't need that disclaimer anymore. Remember, unconsciously, my new acceptance is if it's being taught, I can learn it. So I'm going to take the limiting belief off that it's not my thing and embrace and be open to the learning process. And so, yes, it's been frustrating. Yes, it still isn't done. And I figure, oh, give me 2 hours. It should be done. No, it's not done. No, I'm not even close to being done. However, I'm still encouraged that whatever I, what it's doing is making me slow down and read instructions, follow the instructions as they are written, do it the exact same way. And so I'm learning, and I didn't know that it would require this level of detail, this level of patience on my part. I like to say my ADD do what it do. It's forcing me to say no. Sit here and get this and understand this so that I am competent and I am confident that when I push send or submit, that it's going to go in the direction in which I sent it. And so staying open to the how it's going to unfold, it may not look like what you think, but really focusing on releasing that limited belief, being aware of what it is, then taking authority and agency to change it for yourself, and then making the decision to move forward. And let the feedback be the feedback, making sure that that feedback doesn't dissuade you from the decision that you made for you about you.
You had said the authority and agency, and previously
Mm-hmm.
you said accountability and ownership. And
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love that because that is exactly what not only entrepreneurs and having a North Star or a project that we need to work on and focus on, that is exactly what I would say anybody with a growth mindset has is just that ownership. This is within my control sphere. Everything
Yes.
else, okay, I could take some sort of ownership and accountability for it because I'm influencing the area, but um, I will do what I can do here. I will do what I can do the best I can do it and move forwards. And you've said that multiple times over the last couple podcasts is the same thing. I'm here. I'm going to do the best that I absolutely can in the current moment. And I think that that is probably the best take home as far as breaking the mindset barrier for the
Mm-hmm.
this. I
And
think.
the reason that I'm sorry, the reason I share that, Stephen, is so that we can plant that in our subconscious mind to change for many of us, or certainly it was for me, the victim mindset,
Hmm.
right? Authority says you don't have to ask for permission. You are the one who gives you permission to change, to grow, to explore, to expand. And agency, it is in your wheelhouse. It is self-determinance that you can change, you can grow, you can expand, and again, you can explore. You don't have to wait. You're not a victim in your own life. And so that's why that's so big for me, why I use it just so that I can get a sense and remind myself of the empowerment that I have, and I can execute and move on it without essentially waiting for approval or permission.
Wow. And I think that, as we discussed this, something that really hit home for me was
Hmm.
from the story outwards to the strategy, because we talked about state, story, strategy. From the story
Yes,
outwards, how powerful words are that we tell ourselves
yes.
and what we tell in the world. Um, and in a sense, it's almost tied to the state, the emotional state, the being in a way where we feel some sort of way if we say accountability or um, responsibility or courage. Our last podcast, we talked a lot about courage,
Hmm.
self self-respect. Before I really started defining self-respect, I felt some sort of way thinking about it. And in fact, a lot of the things that I now do, I thought I would be that I thought I contributed to a selfish person.
Hmm.
And in turn, and where this is kind of sort of off subject here, but it's also very in tune with on subject, because
Okay.
in turn I take care of me for you. I take care of me for my wife, for my family, and that is ownership and accountability. That is
Yes.
self-respect, and that is how we get through entrepreneurship. That is how we get through into our this. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that it all connects and is very important. But to me,
Mm-hmm.
I want to really hit home because the language is such an
Yeah.
important factor there. Because even if we're sitting here talking back and forth, you and I, if I say,
Mm-hmm.
well, I can't do that, I'm installing in myself a limiting belief.
That's right.
And I'm putting in myself a barrier to break later on if I need to.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's just so impactful.
Yes. And I like to say, Stephen, does that, so say me, does that add value to you? I love what you said of self-respect. And so essentially, you have to include yourself in the narrative and be present as opposed to detach and identifying out, right? But put yourself in it. Does this add value to me? This belief, does it add value to me? Does it help me or does it hinder me? And so irrespective how it got there. Sometimes, Stephen, as a therapist, I work with people and I see that they really want to spend years, lengthy periods of time talking about how they got to that limiting belief. And while it has its place, at some point, it's here. The question is, does that add value to you?
Yeah, the story's got to
Is
give.
that
Yeah,
period? Like we've been there, we've teased it, we have insight, we understand it. And so if you're going to move here, what do you need to tell yourself? What story, what narrative do you need to tell yourself? Because we know that it all begins with the thought. So what do you need to tell yourself? And you say that repetitiously so that it goes from here, I like to say the Macarena, to hear your thought, to hear your heart, your being, that's where your belief is, and to hear your doing.
yeah,
So I call it dun 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 the Macarena. And so what happens is we say things, limiting beliefs that's operating. We say, oh, positive affirmation, right? But we stop and it never gets here. And so your doing is based on what you're believing. So if you're stopping and you're not following through and you're procrastinating or you're quitting all the self deprecating and self defeating behaviors, it's because you're still operating from a old belief that doesn't add value, that doesn't help you, yet it hinders you. And so that's the work, is to identify and become self-aware and then make that decision that you're going to change it for you and not be a victim in your own life, but be the hero in your own life.
I love that. I heard a little bit that this is just a thought. Um, maybe you can tune in on this.
Okay.
There's seems to be a point where also action is the same as the story. And
Mm,
the image that came to my mind when I was thinking about this was when I first went to a public pool, a YMCA pool, and they had a
mhm,
diving board. And I was young. I knew how to swim just a little bit, but I wanted to
mhm,
go up on that diving board. And I was so scared. And so the image in my mind was me up on top of the diving board, standing at the very edge, kind of shaking. At some
mm,
point, I had to take the action.
right.
And once I did, I realized it wasn't so bad. And so I think that there's another key component there is, yeah, okay, story, language is very crucial, but you could also reverse them and do the strategy first. if you've planned it out very well and you've taken those actions,
Yeah.
I think that also you can prove to yourself that your story is wrong, that there's nothing to be afraid of.
I agree. So one of the models that I've developed is called 8+ stages of change. It's literally what you said. It's awareness, acceptance, action,
Mm,
accountability, and assessment. And sometimes we work it in the reverse, is what you said, the action, the outcome, right? The thing that works with that is you just reverse engineer it. You, let's say you dive, you jumped in, you got that action, and now what we want to be clear about, what you still had a conversation to get you up that ladder, up those stairs, onto that diving board, and jumped off,
yeah,
even though you're not aware of what that conversation is. So if we took the action, for me today, sitting on these computers all day, moving spot to spot to try to figure out how to develop this program, get this program, this system in place, if I dissected the action, my behavior, in order for me to commit that type of time, in order for me to keep going, although it's not complete, I must be having a conversation with myself. In order for you, Stephen, to have gotten up and to get yourself, like I said, up that ladder, up those stairs, on that diving board, and then to go off, that's the behavior. We can look at it from the behavior and we
yeah,
reverse engineer it. What did you tell yourself? And that's the narrative, which means at the core, you believed you had efficacy. There was some conversation, there was some past experience, some decision that you made that told you, Steven, we can handle this. We'll
yeah,
get through it. We will learn it. We will figure it out. It's going to be okay. You need this. You want this. Whatever that story is. So the jumping in the pool was the manifestation of the narrative. Me sitting at this computer, going through all of these programs and looking at apps and trying to read the instructions and all the things, there's an undercurrent that's happening. And it is, oh, I'm going to learn this, period. And so the thought, and I'm going to say the thought, and then the belief, it's the belief that really propels us to move, because people do their truth. So say me, you got up there to get in that water because you were doing your truth. Your logic, your thought may needed to catch up, but
yeah,
the truth of it is what had you climb up there. If you really believe you couldn't swim, your swimming was not adequate, you were going to drown, it will be the death of you, it will, whatever, if that was your truth about you at the unconscious level, there's no way in the world you would have been up there.
yeah,
And so look at the behavior, the action phase of our life as entrepreneurs, as people getting to our this, our North Star. There still is a narrative. And again, if it works for you, I say work it. But if you find that you're stuck and you're hindered, you're procrastinating, you're not making the kind of progress that you know you are capable of making, not the progress I say, or not the progress Stephen says, or somebody else says, by this time you should be here. Nope. The progress that you have established based on your standards and knowing your capabilities, then go back to that conversation that you're having with yourself. Find out what is that limiting belief so you can eradicate it. And if you can't, at least change it so you can get on with your life of getting to your this.
ah, I love it. I love it. As we sum up here, one of the thoughts that I also had was is that a lot of times we defend our limitations.
Oh,
And one of the things that come to my mind is, well, I can't go take the dog for a walk because, well, you know me, I'm getting old, right? And I've heard that. I've heard that. Not, it's not me. I actually do some exercise, but, um, and I hear that and I'm like, oh, wait a second. Maybe if I challenge whoever's seeing this to listen to
Mm-hmm.
what you're defending in your life
Mm-hmm.
and then work your way into one of those ways to fix and break that mindset barrier, I
Mm-hmm.
think that that would be probably a good takeaway for me to give to you. Do you have
Yeah.
one good takeaway to give, Laconia?
I was thinking about it, and I'm going to say make a decision. Make a decision,
Yeah.
right? And let your decision be your vow or your oath to you
Ooh,
once you make a decision.
vow or
Um,
oath. So, in a sense, if I can interpret vow or oath, make a decision and defend it just as much as you might defend. Wow.
because if we don't, what we're really saying is, and it goes back to what we talked about in your earlier segments, Stephen, that procrastination, that's indecisiveness in disguise. And
Mm,
once we do that long enough, it by itself then creates the limiting belief. I can't do it. I don't have enough time. Oh, and they all, I like to say two or more reasons are excuses. One, I'm here. Two, but beyond that, it's excuses. And so if you're stuck, a tip I would say is make a decision. That's it. Your commitment, your vow, your oath to you. I didn't say figure out the how. I didn't say figure out the when, the where, the who, but make a decision about you, for you, about your what, your North Star, your it. And everything else has a way of working itself out.
I love that. Well, until next time, we'll be here next Tuesday as well. So, I'm Stephen McConnell for Growth Mindset Initiative. Keep an eye out. My
And
book is coming out soon. And Laconia?
excuse me, I'm LaConya Reed, founder of Choices International and of So Say Me, a wellness brand where we focus on mindset, movement, and recovery.
That was awesome.